Food Freedom Rogue Valley, which can be viewed at archives.org/details. We are expanding our scope beyond food and farming to include many other issues affecting Southern Oregon. We are reaching you from the Digital Media Center on SOU campus in Ashland, and I'm tonight's host, Greg Marchese. We are under an occupation by corporate and banking forces infiltrating our legislatures, state and federal agencies, media, academia, finance, seed, land, food, and water, and even social and cultural factors. We at Rogue Freedom are proud to be part of the resistance to this occupation and present news and solutions to gain our freedom for the good life in the beautiful Rogue Valley. It is our goal to support its health, food, and future. Tonight, we feature segments on the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement, Talent Park People Power and Talent Elementary School conversion, and proposed state vaccination mandate. But first, headlines. Oregon Governor. This week, Secretary of State Kate Brown became Oregon's governor after John Kitzhaber was forced to resign under media scandal. Kitzhaber was accused of favoritism in hiring his fiancée, Sylvia Hayes, who conducted a green energy policy, mostly biomass facilities extracting from Oregon's stressed forests. This at a time when a large natural gas pipeline is working its way with resistance through the state's approval process. Kitzhaber had also introduced a bill establishing control areas within which GMO crops could be grown, a bill which both sides of the issue opposed. The largest chemical industry lobby, Oregonians for Food and Shelter, said control areas are not needed. They don't want GMOs to be perceived as different, except in their patenting, which allows the corporations to prevent seed saving and so sell seed every year, along with the toxic pesticides that go with GMO seeds. Now, back in May, with 2 weeks to go in Jackson County's furious campaign to ban the growing of GMO crops, Secretary of State Kate Brown issued a letter to 30,000 county voters, along with a voter survey polling on issues of science generally and GMO science specifically. Both sides accused the Secretary of State of trying to influence the vote, but a deeper investigation showed ties to GMO corporate interests. The survey was administered by Penn State's McCourtney Institute for Democracy. The Institute for Democracy is funded almost entirely, $2 million in startup, by donations from a Mr. McCourtney, a partner for 30 years of Venrock, which is a fusion of the words venture and Rockefeller. Venrock aims to apply the investing policies of the Rockefellers, that is world monopoly, for entrepreneurs. Venrock funded the startup of Illumina Corporation, which, among other genetic work, performs GMO characterization. Illumina says, quote, molecular characterization of genetically modified organisms is necessary for event selection and in many countries regulatory approval, end quote. Secretary of State Brown. Our Family Farms Coalition. Our Family Farms Coalition, which led the campaign to ban the growing of GMO crops in Jackson County back in May, has gained the right to intervene in a lawsuit filed by 2 GMO alfalfa growers against Jackson County and its GMO ban ordinance. To support our Family Farms Coalition in the legal defense and help protect our food, farms, and future, go to ourfamilyfarmscoalition.org. Pipeline. A proposed 240-mile-long pipeline to carry fracked natural gas from Klamath Falls to Coos Bay is under review by the state's Department of Environmental Quality, focused on water. The 3-foot diameter pipeline with a nearly 100-foot swath cleared around it would pass through Jackson County and over 400 streams, including the Rogue River. The gas would be liquefied at the Jordan Cove terminal in Coos Bay using a proposed new energy plant that could become the largest carbon emitter in Oregon. The liquefied natural gas is then to be shipped to Asia for foreign sales, driving up gas prices in the U.S. The Oregon coast is overdue for a major earthquake, which could devastate the plant and pipeline, causing massive damage. Some short-term union jobs could be gained by the project, but many more long-term jobs could be gained with a policy of shifting to a renewable energy infrastructure. Public comment is being accepted by DEQ until March 13th, focused exclusively on water issues. Express yourself for Rogue Freedom from dangerous fossil fuels and for a growing state renewables economy by sending comments to www.oregon.gov/DEQ/WR/pages/Jordan Cove comments. Look for that on the DEQ website. Peter Buckley's bills. District 5 Representative Peter Buckley has proposed 2 bills in Salem this session addressing the issue of GMO agriculture in Oregon. One would use existing chemical company records, such as seed contracts, to identify locations and sizes of GMO growing fields and establish control areas where no GMOs would be allowed, opposite of the governor's control areas. The other bill would place a tax on GMO seed to create a compensation fund should non-GMO growers be contaminated. Buckley is calling on all those concerned to support these bills as the best solution to coexistence. Ashland Community Food Co-op. After receiving inquiries and comments from concerned member owners and statements at the last 2 monthly co-op board meetings about meats and cheeses served in the co-op deli raised on GMO feed, the co-op has devoted 2 committees to studying the problem and proposing solutions. One, the Product Standards Committee, has already done excellent work reducing GMO ingredients throughout the store and will engage with the issue in the deli now. The other, an ad hoc committee composed of various co-op departments, will also study potential price increases, sourcing and other factors, and finding solutions to serving GMO-fed foods in the deli. Management is considering increasing employee education on the GMO issue by having a training at the upcoming employee meeting this spring. Also, the co-op is planning to improve signage in the deli to more easily identify organic ingredients, though no plans are being considered to label GMOs. And those are our headlines here on Rogue Freedom Watch. Coming up on our next segment, let me just share what our next 3 segments. We have an interview with Elizabeth Zwick about an action that occurred at a talent park, and then a report on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a giant trade agreement that would certainly affect us in the Rogue Valley and beyond. And finally, our last segment devoted to 2 guests addressing the issue of a state-mandated vaccination program here in Oregon. But let's conduct our interview with Elizabeth Zwick. In 2001, shortly after moving to Talent, Elizabeth Zwick asked a friend, "Where do you go if you want to make something happen here?" and was told, "Join together for Talent." She did and has helped make things happen ever since. Zwick's first project was building a walking path along a portion of Wagner Creek with the help of 30 volunteers, city officials, and the property owner. Since then, she has helped build a walkway along Rapp Road, create a rock garden next to the Talent Library, and start a community tree nursery. She also established and leads the Talent Weed team to help reduce the use of toxic herbicides by the city. Last December, she was named Talent Mayor's Citizen of the Year, but prefers to have her hands in the dirt. Elizabeth, welcome to Rogue Freedom Watch.
Rogue Freedom Watch. Yes, it's good to be here.
Great to have you. Our first question is, what happened this past weekend at Old Town Park in Talent?
It was rather amazing, at least to me. Over a 4-day span from Thursday through Sunday, I had made a commitment to be at the park from 10 to 4 because we'd gotten word that the city was concerned about the quick growth of spring weeds in the park. It was a park that we were attempting to keep herbicide-free for a year. The year was a couple months shy of being up, but the Public Works of Talent felt that it was getting out of hand. We hadn't had the weed teams out during the middle of the winter.
We had an early spring.
But we had an early spring. I was recovering from surgery and hadn't gone out to see how things were doing. And they wanted permission to jump the gun and spray. I happened to be at the Parks Commission meeting when they asked for an okay to go ahead with the spraying. And they got permission, but I got an agreement that they would not start until the following Tuesday. Mm-hmm. That gave me 5 days.
And then 4 days on, and something like 40 people came out during those times?
The first day we had 10 people. This was Thursday. I just sent out emails the night before after I got home from the Parks Commission meeting. Friday we had 18. Saturday we had 37.
That was Valentine's Day.
That was Valentine's Day, and there were a couple of couples who I was told came because the husband was there as his Valentine's gift to his wife.
Oh.
It was really sweet.
Yeah.
They were weeding together and obviously having a good time. I hope they went out somewhere afterwards. And then on Sunday we had another 12 people come. By that time it was a matter of fine-tuning, tidying up ragged edges and getting the last few weeds. We did an amazing amount of work, put in about a total of more than 170 hours altogether of volunteer time, and cleared there were some bare slopes that had never been effectively landscaped or mulched, where the weeds were 8 inches to a foot tall and pretty dense. And they took a good deal of effort, and we got them stripped. And in other places it was more a matter of pulling weeds out of mulch and cutting the lawn back around trees.
Yeah.
It's a moderately large park, bigger than it looks when you first walk in there. And
Well, it's well attended. I saw a lot of kids in the skate park and others walking around.
I was there at 9:30, 4 days in a row, and there were kids out in the park that early and all day long, coming and going and using it very actively. I was delighted to see how well used that park is.
And what was the outcome of the effort? Did the Talent City withhold their chemical sprays? And
on Tuesday, I walked the park with another member of the weed team and a couple of the people from Public Works, and they said it looked great, and they did not feel that it would be necessary to spray again before we get to the review time at the end of the agreed upon year. So it was a total success.
Oh, good. Great news.
Both in the outcome in terms of being able to hold off spraying, and in the enthusiasm and outpouring of support and effort.
Right.
I'm very proud of Talent.
You must feel pretty good about that.
I feel absolutely terrific.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great work. Is there any other people you want to mention who contributed in the organizing level? Meadow Sweet was one.
Meadow Sweet has been very active in educating the city about the difficulties, the problems with the glyphosate Roundup and other sprays. She's been lobbying for years. In fact, the fact that we have no spray parks at all is largely due to her galvanizing effort in getting people to make the case.
Yeah, it's particularly important to protect children.
Well, then the 3 areas that we have now as no spray areas, we started in front of the library. Actually, I got involved when I saw somebody spraying the edges of the playground, the actual playground where the children play. And I had my grandchildren there on the play equipment, and I decided that whenever I came, I would just pull whatever weeds I saw so that they wouldn't have to come back as frequently.
Vigilante weeding.
Guerrilla weeding.
That's good. And then from there, you got further involved.
Pretty early on, I started going into the story time at the library and asking some of the other parents if they wanted to come out and weed with me. We started right in front of the library, and then discovered that that was maintained by the county, and the county was not as forthcoming as the city in terms of welcoming volunteers to work with them in terms of maintaining the landscape. But the city quickly allowed us to take on what they call the commons, which is the playground area in front of the library and the grassy lawn that the children love to run on and people picnic on.
Right.
So that was the first area that and I think it's at least 3 years now that we've maintained that without sprays. Then we were allowed to expand to the area, the landscaped area in front of City Hall, which is where the evening market is held, and also the Harvest Festival, or the evening market was held there at that time. And again, there was music, and people would picnic on the lawn, and kids would be rolling around in the grass. It seemed like a high priority, and that has been maintained, I think, for 2 years now without spraying. Last year, we got permission to go across the street to the skateboard park and attempt to, it's officially known as the Old Town Park, and to attempt to keep that. Of course, it takes a fair amount of effort. We need small teams of people coming out on a regular basis. And typically, I'm out there during a lot of the year for 2 hours once a week with people who are able to come out at the same time. Yeah. Ideally, we'll get a number of crews that will take on different areas and come out at their own preferred schedule.
Right, and now you have a plan to make it easier to maintain the park in that way. There's 4 steps you were talking about?
Well, yes. When I sent out my victory announcement and thank you to all the weeders, I also am envisioning how we need to go ahead to make this work and work better for the community and the city. So, of course, we need to continue the weeding maintenance of all of those areas that we have commitments for, and that's step 1. Step 2, there are some areas that are difficult to maintain right now because the mulch cover has deteriorated. Yeah. And we plan to work with the city to get permission to come in with a mulching system that's been effective in some other areas, laying down multiple layers of cardboard and then wood chips over it. And in general, we try to get wood chips donated from the local arborists. Right. So anybody listening, you want to donate some wood chips, we'll put them to good use.
That's the second strategy. And
third, there are some problem areas, those steep slopes that have not been effectively landscaped or mulched, need some creative design. And so we need to meet and brainstorm and take all possible ideas. Some of the things that have been suggested are an actual extension of the concrete skateboard park over one very weedy area. It would give, there'll be a certain cost involved, but it would make a wonderful addition and would eliminate the weeds in that area for certain. The possibility of a butterfly garden using some hardy natives, and probably some terracing on another problematic slope. Yeah. Those are just a couple of the ideas that have been suggested.
Well, we know some permaculture people in the community that
right.
have lots of ideas.
Somebody suggested using mushrooms and developing probably a heavy bed of chips or something of that sort, and demonstrating what could be done by growing mushrooms. So we're looking for ideas, and then would want to select and perfect a couple that we could present to the city,
Right.
and see if we could get an agreement, all in agreement, and make it happen. Harness the volunteer enthusiasm to
Right. Now that was
create
3.
something. That was 3.
There's a 4th.
Long term, of course, we would like